All right, so we'll be able to, get those on that might want to see later, see the service later. But today is all about necessary endings, and we're going to talk about that. I'll give a little introduction, and we'll definitely have a conversation about this as well. Have some announcements for you later on too. But one thing I'm excited about is that BTM the last 4 years, um, and actually the beautiful thing is at the end of this month it will make 4 years that we've been virtual, and so we're just excited, happy about that, and thank you so much for being on this journey with us. Um, and so one thing that we're starting, and you could thank Darian for this beautiful idea. We're doing an emotional support group, and so this emotional support group will happen twice a month. It'll just provide support for those that are normally going through their week and they just need some time to vent. Does not replace therapy, but it gives you that extra support group, something that we already do a beautiful job at in our services, whether it's on Friday or Saturday. But we just want to give that extra boost as well. So 2 Sundays a month, we'll be doing the support group with a couple of our BTM people. And so if you can come on this Sunday, 1 p.m., we're doing that. And we would love for you to come on. If you need the extra support, a couple of us will be on there. So on the same Zoom link, and hope you can make it. And I'll share that flyer later on as well. But let's start off necessary endings. Let's start off with the prayer, and then I'll share my screen. Heavenly Father God, thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you for your love, your care, your kindness. Thank you for who you are in our lives and for being so, so good. So with that, Holy Spirit, lead and guide our conversation. Help us to keep that model, being biblical, being real, and being practical. Help us to know that with each of these skills that we're gaining, that we're being more and more blessed. We're able to learn about the spiritual and the practical aspects of life and be able to navigate a lot of confusing things where we're just trying to figure it out and learning from one another and seeing what's best in the current season of our lives. We thank you. We honor you today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right. And so with that, let's get started. And just like we always do, we'll give you a little intro as well. So necessary endings, necessary endings. Okay, so today, it says here that today may be the enemy of your tomorrow. In your business and perhaps your life, the tomorrow that you desire and envision may never come to pass if you do not end some things you are doing today. For some people, that is clear and easy to execute. They end the things that are holding them back. But for others, it is more difficult. This book is entitled Necessary Endings by Henry Cloud. And so John Townsend and Henry Cloud, they also wrote the book Boundaries. They're faith-based Christians. And so this is another book that has definitely been beneficial to people when it comes to necessary endings, things that have to come to an end in their own individual lives. This book is about the problem and how to get the results you desire by ending the things whose time has passed. In it, you will see that endings are a natural part of the universe, and your life and business must face them, stagnant or die. They are an inherent reality. You will also see that there are different kinds of endings, and that learning how to tell one from the other will ensure some successes and prevent many failures and much misery, ending substantial pain and turmoil that you or your business may be encountering. So this might be talking about your business, might be talking about your personal life, and so on. So I want you to think broad when you think about necessary endings when it comes to your life. All right. As we think about even biblical endings, the Bible references pruning, cutting off that which is not beneficial or fruitful, and bringing things to an end in order to promote new growth many times. In Matthew 15, 1 to 2, Jesus declares, I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit so they will produce even more. Another example talks about the barren fig tree. When Jesus told this story, a man planted a fig tree in his garden and came again and again to see if there was any fruit on it, but he was always disappointed. Finally, he said to this gardener, I've waited 3 years and there hasn't been a single fig. Cut it down. Have you been in a position where you've waited 3, 4, 5 years, you name it, and you've noticed that no fruit has come from something? All you are witnessing is death, trials, troubles, but nothing good? It may be time for an ending, a necessary ending. As we keep on going on here, even the death and resurrection of Christ represents the ending of things. Christ laid down his life in death on the cross to pay the penalty for our sins, so that we might receive salvation, be born again, and have, that's right, eternal life. Clearly, things have to end in order to make room for change. I'll say that one more time. Things have to end in order to make room for change, for new things to happen. Here's some practical examples when we think about necessary endings. One example of a necessary ending came from an assistant I had, obviously not me, but this is coming from the book. Came from an assistant I had who had overcommitted herself with volunteering in so many areas that she was stressed out and didn't have time for herself. She always had to and never got to. I encouraged her to evaluate what was most beneficial and which organization was really benefiting from having her, then choose what to stop. After cutting out some of the activities a few weeks later, she came back and she was a whole new person. She actually found her joy again and was able to really focus on being effective where she was volunteering and working. For many, a new year can also mean a change of jobs, an ending. When an employee just isn't the right position and isn't the happiest he or she could be. Letting go could be doing both the employee and the employer a favor. At first, making a change can be difficult, but that employee may very well find the perfect job he's best suited for that utilizes his gifts and talents, which best and brings him joy. And so the employer is free to find the right person for that position that they'll be most effective for the organization. And so the first question is simply this. What type of necessary endings did you experience in your own life? What type of necessary endings did you experience in your own life? Another way to say this question is, describe a time when you had to let something go. Another way to say this question is, describe a time when you had to let something go. All right. So think about 20 to 30 seconds to think about that question, and then we'll go one by one. But the question I have here is, what type of necessary endings did you experience in your own life? Another way to say that is, describe a time when you had to let something go. All right, let's start there. Take about 15 more seconds and then we'll get some hands one by one. All right. So with that, does anybody want to share? Feel free to put in the chat as well, but describe a time when you had to let something go. All right. I see DS. I don't know the full name, but go ahead.
Hi, this is me, Darian.
Oh, Darren, go
Hello.
ahead.
Yeah. So to answer the question, the thing that I had to let go was my expectations at my job, my previous job. I really
Mm,
thought that I was gonna work there for a while, actually, for a long time. I really thought that I was gonna move up in the ranks, possibly, become like a clinical like director or program director or whatever that may be. And then last year, I just remember entering the year just like something just doesn't feel right. I was finding myself like not getting excited to go to work. I was finding myself being uh, kind of like underwhelmed in a sense of what was happening at the job. And then I had the week of hell which ultimately led to me saying goodbye to my job. But I realize now, especially as you were talking and giving this awesome introduction, I realized that I had to say goodbye to my previous job because then I wouldn't have the opportunity and be in the position that I'm in now. But really, to narrow it down, I just really had to say goodbye to my expectations because it changed, for sure. So, yeah, my answer.
No, I love that answer, and I like the fact that you went first and you gave that perspective, right? Because necessary endings, it's very broad. There are a lot of different things that have to end, and the fact that you spoke about our expectations coming to an end. Frozen. Am I frozen?
No, you're
Okay.
good.
I'm good, Joab?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, okay. All right. Yeah, Shani, I think I'm good. But I like the fact that you even thought about expectations, our expectations coming to an end. And sometimes our expectations coming to an end, well, not even sometimes, a lot of times it's hard because we have this expectation, we're hopeful, we're wishing, and an expectation comes in a certain package. And so when the package is not what we are used to or what we expected, it's disappointing. But even in the same breath, a lot of times if we don't, like you said, if we don't let that expectation die, God could be providing the true essence of the gift that we're expecting. But because it's not shaped or wrapped in the way that we want it to be wrapped, we could be rejecting it. So I definitely thank you so much for starting us out. The fact that there's a need to have an end to certain expectations. Love that a lot. Thank you so much, Darian. Anybody else? Anybody else want to talk about a time that they had to let go of something, or in their own life they've experienced a necessary ending? Was it a relationship? Um, was it a work relationship? Was it a friendship? Right?
Hi, Devontae. It's
Hey,
Amanda.
hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I haven't been on here in a while, so I'm so happy that I could join tonight.
Me too. I'm happy you're on.
Um, as soon as I saw this title, I already figured what my situation was on it. But I will say that mine was a friendship that ended about 2 years ago, and I will say that necessary endings, you don't always know that that ending is like going to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a friendship that I would kind of describe as like there were some toxic moments in it. But we knew each other for a long time. And I feel like history also tries to, that comes in the back of your mind. Should we continue being friends? Like we've gone through all of this together. And those thoughts do kind of like, race in your mind. But ultimately when the friendship ended, mind you, it wasn't even like my choice to do that. Like she decided to end the friendship between us, and it really, really hit me really hard. Like it was very hurtful. And I chatted. We had a lot of mutual friends. We both kind of chatted with our mutual friends, and then like we just didn't have that communication with each other to just like get to the closure that I felt like I needed, but she didn't need it. So that was very, very tough for me. And honestly, time very much heals because like I could say now I'm at a point where like I'm actually kind of over it, over the friendship, and I'm just like, okay, it happened. What happened, it needed to happen, right? Even though I didn't want it to turn out the way it did, but sometimes life just kind of happens like that. But yeah, that was a necessary ending because I didn't even realize how bad certain things that happened in our friendship were until the friendship kind of ended. So yeah, so that it actually taught me like how to, be a better friend to the friends that I have now. The circle that's around me now. Like, okay, these are the supportive people that are around me. These are the people that I can talk to, vet to. But yeah, with that specific friendship, it was just a necessary ending, and I learned a lot from it. and it's good to kind of just let go of when certain things are just not for you, and you just hope that and pray for that person for the best for them, and yeah, let it go. Yeah, friendship endings are hard. I feel like a lot of people can agree that they're even harder than like relationship endings. So
Yep.
yeah, just
Yep.
wanted to throw that out there. I'm super happy to join you guys tonight.
You know, I got a follow-up question for you, right?
Oh no, I was about to go mute, but I can't now.
No, 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 no. I hope you know you won't get away that fast. No, you're not gonna get away that fast. All right, so I think it's one follow-up. I don't think it's two, but
Okay.
it becomes two. It depends. It's based off of how you respond to the first one. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So my follow-up question for you is, I want you to complete like fill in the blank, right? So
Okay.
for you, like, so if you didn't allow yourself to end the friendship, right, even up until today, if you didn't allow yourself to end the friendship, you know, where would you be?
Um, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. So if you didn't allow yourself to end the friendship, then where would you be now?
Well, I think that we would still, both of us would be in the same place,
Mhm.
because she decided to end the friendship without communicating that with me.
Hmm.
So I was always like contacting her. She wouldn't hit me back. There was a situation that happened between us that she basically got like upset about something, but didn't voice that to me. So she internalized it, talked with her friends about it, which are mutual friends of ours. And I didn't know that that was an issue. And she decided to finish the relationship based off that situation. So to this day, I don't have that like closure like from her about like, hey, why did you come to this decision? So
Mhm.
I feel like we still would have been in the same place, because it was ultimately her that decided to like, hey, this was her decision, and I just had to, you know, go with it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna force anybody to do anything.
Mhm.
I just can't. Um, so yeah, and I was like, you know what? Maybe the situation taught me that, friendships are really worth fighting for. Certain ones really are. But like in her mind, it wasn't. So, I want to be in any friendship that I'm with that we have that mutual space, right? We have that balance. Like, hey, if something does happen, at least we can, open our mouths and talk about it and then move on. Because to me, the situation was little, but to her, the situation was big. But we
Mhm.
could have really like, hashed it out and moved on from it. But that's a choice that she decided not to do. So, um, yeah, just being real, like that's what happened. So,
Well,
yeah,
that's good. That's good. Yeah, and I'm sorry about the fact that you were not given the opportunity to at least get a conversation to have closure, right? And to,
yeah,
get just one on one, not through other friends or other people,
no,
but
yeah, we
you
we
know.
never got that. She never allowed me to have that chance. That's something that I wanted to have with her, but then it was just like it made me question about, okay, maybe this is really not a friendship that's supposed to be long term, because this is what with any of my other friendships, we can hash things out and move from it. We're grown people, we're grown adults. Like, if you can't like voice how you feel about something, I'm not here to like assume your feelings. You know what I mean? Like assume how you feel. You need to tell me how you feel. And that
Hmm.
goes for any relationship. So
Absolutely. And thank you so much. I'll just close off like even what you shared with the fact that I can imagine even now with your current friendships or any future one that happens or the future ones that happen, that one of the things that's very important to you is if there's any issues, any problems, please come speak to for that person to come and speak to you so you can have the opportunity to, talk things out, have conflict resolution, and just be able to air out whatever might be going on. I can imagine
ab-
that's something that's very important to you now.
absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Amanda, and happy to see you again. Happy to see you again coming on.
Yes, yes. So and I'm
Awesome,
sick.
awesome.
Sorry,
Oh,
my
what'd you
voice
say?
is so bad. I'm sick right now, so my voice sounds so terrible, but I had to share.
Oh, don't worry. You got it. You got it. You got it. Trust me. I'm trying to drink water right now because I'm always trying to. You won't get it together. You won't get it together. We got the morning voice right now, but we're gonna get it together. Don't worry. Jason, you're up, and then Vanessa's right after.
Hear me?
I can hear you, bro. How's it going?
I'm having a pretty bad day, but I'm glad to be here. So,
Listen, I respect the honesty, bro. I respect
hey,
the honesty.
you know me. I can't tell a lie. But in terms of the topic, I'm background on me. I don't believe in like cancel culture and like hard decisions when it comes to relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
I learned this concept of like demoting people, just like giving people less access to you rather than blocking and and things of that nature, so extreme hard cuts.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have someone that I blocked, or I didn't even do it. My friend had to do it for me because they saw how toxic the cycle was getting. It was a friendship. I had been financially supporting this friend for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It started when I was in California. He was in New York, and this was during the pandemic, during COVID. And from what I understood, he lost his job to COVID and he was homeless. So I was trying to, be a good friend and help in any way that I could. He was having problems with his mom, so he couldn't stay with her. So like he was, experiencing things that I couldn't imagine. And at the time, helping people financially was something that I was becoming accustomed to doing just because I had set apart in my budget to help people financially because I got like my first job where I'm making real money. I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like not to say that I'm the rich friend in the group now, but I was like, oh man, like what am I gonna do with all this money? And I wasn't like tithing how I should have, so because I wasn't like at a church or anything. So for me, it was just like I came to understand that money really helps people more than a lot of things. Sometimes people just need money. So I wasn't afraid to give it because I knew I was giving it from a good place and whatnot. But a year after I came back to New York from California, met up with him and still homeless, but we had a heart to heart and he confessed that he was a crackhead, like he was addicted to crack. And that kind of like was a shocker for me because I didn't really have a lot of what's the word like so immediately I was like, oh man, he was using all the money I sent him to drugs, and I started to villainize him in a way like, oh, you duped me and this and that. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he came clean was just kind of testament that he's trying to get better and he was kind of crying out for help. So I still worked with him. So what I ended up doing was took him on a shopping spree at Costco, got him a bunch of like sweatpants and socks. Socks are a big thing that homeless people like run out of very quickly. Um, he's a big guy, so we have to go to Marshalls to get like size 14 sneakers and stuff. So I bought him things to kind of like, and I got him a bag to put all set things to kind of get him up and running on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him that, the fact that he was able to come clean about me, about his like addiction was huge because it shows that he's trying to fight it and he just needs the support to help him. So I
Mm-hmm.
continued to work with him. He would ask me for money to get uniforms for because he did security and he was trying to get back into it. Long story short, this went on for a year or so, and I was very like willing but also skeptical because now I know that he's battling something, so I'm not just like dishing out bread like that. And it got to a point where he like snapped on me. He just like got very like verbally abusive because I said no. Like he had called me at like 4 in the morning, and he would do stuff like that in the past where he would like blow my phone up, 30 missed calls, things like that. Always last minute, always requesting something. It was always urgent, and I never really picked up on the pattern. So I would always like oblige, or I would tell him no real quick. But this one time, he wasn't really like going away like in terms of when I said no, like he or I freaked out actually. I had an episode because it was triggered by him and whatnot. And yeah, he was just like very insensitive about it. And I realized that, this wasn't heading well. So like, about my past, like he was the person who called me on the night that I had my suicide attempt. Like it was all because of like how he came at me with that energy, and I kind of like balled it up and internalized it. So then fast forward a year later, I'm trying to forgive him for everything. And I told him like, yo, like I'm having a studio session to commemorate the anniversary of my attempt and whatnot. You should pull out. And he was like, oh man, I look crazy right now. I could really use some money for a haircut. My friend was like, bro, he's doing that shit again. Like he's using it again. Like, don't do it, don't do it. And I'm just like, nah, that's real. Like he's still not back on his feet. He's going through shelter to shelter. He's on medication for schizophrenia. So I know he's trying, like I can't rush a person's healing process. So I'm still showing him grace, 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 grace. That's how I was raised, right? But my friend was like, yo, if he doesn't show up, you have to block him. And I was just like, bro, all right, all right. So fast forward, I gave him like $50 or something like that to get a haircut and whatnot. Did not show up. Had to block it. My friend actually took my phone and blocked him for me. But what I learned from that experience and why it was such a necessary thing is that sometimes we fill in the blanks for people that they don't give us. Like we write a better story than they would ever give us. Like some people you have to meet them where they're at and take what they give and not try to like see it through rose colored glasses. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
when when he told me he was battling an addiction, I should have been more hesitant and kind of scaled back a little more than I did. But I really did like respect him for telling me that because he didn't have to tell me that. He could have just kept taking money from me and whatnot. So, but in reality, it's like sometimes people just like to take. They like I tell people all the time that
Mm-hmm.
like as a giver, you have to find your limits because takers don't have any. And I had a whole psychotic break, and this guy still was like making it about him and how like he's homeless and whatnot. Mind you, like was very transparent about everything that happened with him. Went to the hospital, all that. And like after that, he's still like, "Oh, when can I talk to you again?" 'Cause I told him I didn't want to talk to him for a minute. Like I needed a
Mm-hmm.
break because of everything that happened. And he's like, "Okay, okay." And then because I'm one of the last people he has in his life. Like he's burnt. The bridge has been burnt with his mom and stuff. And I've talked to her about stuff, and like it was kind of crazy. But yeah, I kind of just like was trying to show that grace that like Jesus be showing folks in the street. You know what I mean? Like I'm a very like I'm not super biblical, but like I look up to Jesus Christ and whatnot. So I'd be trying to like, what would Jesus do my way through stuff. But I had to learn that like some people, not to say that they can't be saved, but it's not necessarily my duty per se to do more for them than myself. Like
Mm-hmm.
understanding that balance between giving too much of myself from someone who doesn't have a limit for how much they're going to take. So it's like sometimes blocking people, or at least in this case, blocking them, because he was very like I said, he'd blow my phone up crazy hours of the night. And so for me, blocking him was a necessary like removal that I had to do, which sucks because I truly feel like he's in need, and there's not a lot of people who are willing to hear him out. Because once they hear crackhead, they're just like, oh, lost cause, like die in the streets. Like it's a very tough experience, and I know what he's going through in terms of just like not being heard as someone with a mental health condition. But I also have to understand that there's little old me in the picture as well, and I have to like at some point advocate for myself, and that might not be in the best interest of someone else, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not really that doesn't have to be my job to be this self-sacrificial lamb. Like I want to be like Jesus Christ, but not up until the cross. You feel me? Like I gotta understand that I have to set more better boundaries, and so that's what I learned. And sometimes letting people go is you setting a boundary, and setting boundaries can be really hard for people like me who have people-pleasing tendencies or
Mm-hmm.
who are always on the hunt for closure and things of that nature. Some people, you can't please them all. It's something I've learned. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that they aren't digging the vibes, and you have to meet them where they're at and maintain your self-worth, because sometimes I felt really bad cutting them off for a really long time. I felt like just like a person who didn't have any empathy, and he could be dead for all I know, things of that nature. But eventually over time, the person who was talking before me said time heals a lot of things. I think over time I finally got to a place where I understood that, the world is still gonna spin. It's not the end of the world, and that
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to care for yourself. It can get the concept of self-care and being selfish can get commingled when you're used to people pleasing, and you kind of beat yourself up for trying to focus on yourself and take care of yourself. But you know, I had $50,000 of credit card debt during all of this, so it's I didn't have all the money in the world, but here I was still trying to help, and now I'm dealing with somebody who keeps taking, and not just taking, but oh yeah, I'm gonna get you back on Friday because I got this thing coming up, and so I went through a lot of emotional roller coasters with when I would get money back, because it wouldn't be oh, help me out. It'd be a loan of sorts, and that was something that was very frustrating because it was just a balance kept racking up and things of that nature. But I don't want to ramble. That's what I wanted to talk about, was just sometimes you have to let people go in order to grow and understand the importance of boundaries. I think that's what I kind of wanted to get at.
Absolutely, Jason. I just want to thank you so much, for sharing that. I wrote down a couple of things, because I was like, oh, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. And so while you were speaking, I was thinking about just in general now, how sometimes in our lives, a couple of us, because what I call myself, I'm a semi-retired people pleaser. I'm a
Mm,
semi-retired people pleaser. And when I think about that, I can always come out of retirement, right? But there's too much pain and annoyance when I come out of retirement for that. But I look at the early relationships in my life, they have been the cause of my people pleasing, whether it's wanting more love, more concern, more care from the people that are in my life. And so, as I'm growing up and I'm 30 years old now, right? I have to be very aware of where that need for people pleasing comes from. Because if I'm not careful, I will use future relationships to try to heal those past relationships.
right.
And when we look at our family, whether it's mother, sister, father, whoever it is, the list can go on. That some of these people in our present, they mirror a lot of our past. And so nothing feels better subconsciously than to meet somebody in the present that reminds me, for example, of a father that wasn't there, right? Or should have been there, and try to heal it. It's like, wow, I get to relive the past and get a second chance. And what ends up happening with that is we experience the disappointment. We experience the failure of it, as opposed to I have to grieve what I lost, and now all I have is the present and the future. And so a couple things I wrote down here. The one when you mentioned the fact that for your anniversary of your attempt, you wanted to celebrate, and he used that moment to ask for money. I thought that was mind blowing to me. But I said here that the one time you needed him, the one time you needed him, he made the moment all about him. The one time you needed him, he made the moment all about him. That speaks volumes.
Right.
That speaks volumes to what kind of friend that is.
Right.
I also wrote here that sometimes a no is more loving than a yes. Sometimes a no is more loving than a yes. If anything, you giving in to him, giving him more money because of what he was using it to do, wasn't allowing him to truly take responsibility for his addiction, or for getting help, or for getting better. If anything, it was enabling him. So you, as hard as it was, saying,
Right.
no, I'm not going to do this, that was more loving than enabling him with your yes.
Right.
And then the last thing is when you think about Jesus, right? I always tell people that Christ only died once on the cross. He only died once on the cross. He didn't keep on saying, keep putting me up there, keep putting me up there. I don't see a Christ that let himself be like get walked on. He died on the cross, but when it came to people, he was very assertive. There are times he didn't say anything. There were times he spoke up, and there were times when people wanted stuff from him, and he went to a solitary place. So I just want to remind you of that's the Christ. That's a balanced. That's Christ that knows his boundaries, and we should learn from that example. So I just want to just commend you for the work that you're doing, for pushing through even when it was hard.
Yeah. Thank you for describing Christ like that, because I feel like that's not news to me, but it's not highlighted
Mm-hmm.
that version of him. Like he's always shown as the meek, humble dude who's hella like understanding. But I like that you brought that up because that's real.
Absolutely. I mean, the last thing I would say is I think the major issue is that Christianity teaches a walk like Christianity teaches sometimes a weak Christ, not the real Christ, a Christ that just gets walked all over, and for the sake of the gospel and stuff like that. And the truth is that's not the case. And as a result, we've heard like for years, well, just let it happen. Pray for them. Everything's gonna be all right. Da, 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 da. And I'm just like, no. Like, yes, you continue to pray for people, but God is not asking you to get abused, used continually over and over and over again. The first time it may happen, and I might not be aware of it, but once I'm aware of it, you better know I'm going to use my boundaries, and that's Bible. So definitely, just feel confident even when you might not be sure. Feel confident in setting boundaries when you know that you might be prone to being abused or people using you just for their own gain.
Right.
Yeah. Next up we have thank you so much, Jason. Next up we have Vanessa.
Hey,
Hey,
Devontae.
good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too. Hi, everyone. So yes, last year, well, I'll say this, for the past 10, 11 years, I used to work in the social work arena, working in vocational rehabilitation, and I decided sometime, in 2022 that I wanted a switch, a new career. And I decided like I wanted to get into human resources. And so I did this crazy, crazy, crazy thing. I left my full-time job with benefits and I took an HR contract role. Now, what I would say is that that role, I've learned a lot, but when I said it was super overwhelming, it really produced a negative character in me because now I'm not a person that tend to curse and all that carry on. But what I was cursing a storm, okay? I was working remote. I was, oh my goodness, out of character because I was just going crazy. Okay. So really it really I was in like in a negative place. And so what happened after so as I'm doing this role, right, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is a contract role. I'm going to network with internal employees. I'm going to make sure that I move up and promote myself so I can go to like recruitment or I can get into learning and development. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I know some people know in this group, unfortunately, I got laid off unexpectedly in January. And so, you can imagine after that layoff, I became like depressed. I was just feeling so super down. I felt like I was having like a Job moment. And I'm definitely like felt like I was in a period of in a wilderness period. And so I remember like just kind of like reading, and 2 weeks ago, I felt God was telling me, look, Vanessa, like the reason why I had to take you out this job because were you glorifying me? Were you taking time to spend time with me? And I'm be honest, I didn't. During that time with my HR role, when I said that I was so overwhelmed that it took out time for me being with my friends. I didn't hang out with friends much, especially during the summer, which I love the summer. You know, I was so filled with anxiety. Like when Sunday rolled around, forget it. I was filled with anxiety because I knew what Monday was going to bring. And so I felt now that, that came to me, that revelation from God, this layoff was a necessary ending. I needed that necessary ending because now it was like a pivotal moment for me. Now, ever since I was laid off in January, I was able to read my Bible more devotion. Shout out to Joab because he started that whole Bible plan on YouVersion. Now I am way behind most of you guys, but I'm still doing my Bible plan. I'm still doing devotions and things like that. But it really gave me that space to really be in tune with God's word. I'm sharing testimonies with other people and encouraging other people. And so, yeah, that layoff truly was a necessary ending. I am very happy to report that today I actually got an offer and I will be starting a new job next month. And so, as much it was so bad, like, this layoff really took a toll on me. It was necessary for me to just repivot and really get back in tune with my time with God. Now, just continue to pray for me because this is a new role for me, and also pray for me that as I'm working, right, I do still want to, maintain, right, my time with God in the morning because sometimes I struggle. Your girl struggles in the morning. I have to be honest, but I'm so grateful, and yeah, I thank God for that necessary ending.
Come on, God coming through for you. I know you were excited. I know you were excited. I don't know. When you got the news, like, what was your
Oh
initial
yeah.
feeling?
Oh my
Like, were
goodness.
you?
I was so excited. I was like crying. I was jumping for joy,
Mm-hmm.
blasting my gospel music for sure, And of course, there's some nervousness because I'm like, oh, this is a new role. Am I going to perform well? All that kind of stuff. But, God knows what's best. So I'm truly, truly grateful. Yeah, I give him
Come
all the glory.
on.
Thank you,
Let's
everyone.
go. Let's go. Come on. I mean, God just allowing blessings just flow all over you all. Let me just tell you that. Like y'all are truly blessed. And I know like it's been a while, Vanessa, and just to see this come through, like I know it's gonna be a moment, it's gonna be a memory for you that you'll never forget how God came through for you and what you learned in this season and your patience.
Oh
Woo.
man, tell me about it. Yeah, that was tough. Yeah. My faith was wavering for sure. I had
Mm.
moments. Yeah.
Wow,
But
wow.
thank you.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think in the last, I want to say 2, 3 months, there have been, you know, I think you were one person, then 2 other people. And Candace actually shared. Candace was looking for a job for a very long time, and Candace got that as well. Got her job maybe 2 months ago, and then you now. And then there's somebody else. I'll let them share their story, when they get a chance. But another BTM member told me, another BTM member told me that they got a new job today too. That they've been praying for.
Oh
So,
wow. Yeah.
yeah,
And
so I'm just
yes,
like,
yes.
woo, you know.
Yeah, I'm so happy. And thank you for the BTM space, thank you again for those who are praying for me. And thank you. I'm reading the chat. I'm so happy. And thank you, Joab, for starting that Bible plan because I really wanted to start that Bible plan for a very long time. So when you initiated, I was like, okay, now it's time, Lord. This is my chance. Again, I'm super behind, but I'm getting there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks so much, Vanessa. Good to see you again. Um, all right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to um more of the presentation. I'll share some more, and then we'll go into that second question. Awesome. Right, so as we continue on, we're talking about, for those that had just jumped on as well, topic is all about necessary endings. All of us go through necessary endings. Another way to say this is times when we have personally had to let something go. Times when we have personally had to let something go. It might have been the friendship, and those can get really tricky because nobody ever thinks in the moment when things are going well that a friendship is going to end. So even being able to communicate and even work out issues within a friendship is not easy at all. It can be very tricky. You think about dating relationships. It might be a little easier to talk about that, but the pain of a breakup it's painful. It hurts. A friendship, people don't necessarily think that's going to end, but even in a dating relationship, there might be a chance that this is going to last or this is just temporary. Other things that we've spoken about are jobs, right? Certain jobs have had to end in order for us to walk into God's blessing for us or where He really wants us to be. And how Vanessa even spoke about it too, a job that allows us to be where we need to be, but also have time for Him as well. Some of these jobs that we have, it takes all of our time away, where the only thing we have time for is just to work. Or we may not even have time for our relationships that are out there, you know? I'm just putting some more out there. Some things that would have to end could be a church relationship, right? So if you grew up in a home church and you had one relationship with it and you realize that, hey, I've been trying to make a change. I've been trying to be patient, but all I get is just insanity. For example, they say insanity is doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. Maybe you are that person that's been in a church situation where it has become insanity. And so that might be a relationship with the home church that needs to end. So you can walk into a healthy community that can actually be there for you. Right. So there's so many different things to these so this is so broad. So when we think about necessary endings, I want you to think broadly. Okay. As we just continue to go on, what brings me to our topic? We both have personal and professional lives. There are times when reality dictates that we must stand up and end something. Either its time has passed, its season is over, or worse, continuing it would be destructive in some way. Such a situation requires us to end a dating relationship that is not going to go where it needs to go. I remember some past relationships, I knew the person wasn't right for me, but because of I wanted it, or the person's body, or this, you name it, it's like God, you're like praying, God, make this work. Make it work, put your extra blessing on it, when in reality, it's something that you want and it's not for you. How about this one? Fire an employee who should be fired. There are some people that are still at your jobs and you're wondering, why didn't they get fired like the first week I got here? As a result, they are destroying the institution. They are stopping progress. How about this one? Get out of social ties or activity commitments whose season has passed. Getting out of social ties and activity commitments whose season has passed. Another one is let go of a dream that is not going to materialize and move on. Let go of a dream that is not going to materialize and move on. The icebreaker that we went over today was simply, would you rather sing out of tune or dance off beat? Maybe your dream is being that well-known singer, but the truth be told, the only person that believes that you can sing is you, right? So that may not be a dream that you can accomplish, but you can think about different dreams. Is there a dream in particular? And I'm not talking about a dream that people have just tried to kill just because they're vision killers. I'm talking about a dream that deep down that God is telling you no, but you keep pursuing it. You're not allowing it to come to an end. How about this one? Leave a job or a career that is not right or is even toxic for you. That also has to come to an end. Ooh, how about this one? End a marriage damaged by repeated unfaithfulness that is not changing. Admit that something is failing and wave the white flag. So for example, you're a part of an organization, you're part of a church, and they continue to do the same thing, the same way, and they don't want to admit that it's failing and something needs to change. Another example says, unplug from toxic friendships or family ties. How many know that there are some relationships, even within our family, that needs a necessary ending? We're not proposing cancel culture, but there are some relationships that do end up being canceled simply because you're continuing to be abused in the situation. So you don't want to start off with a mindset of canceling. But it comes to a point that all this relationship brings you is abuse, physical, emotional, psychological, and nothing has changed. It may be time for a necessary ending. Give up. Oh my gosh, look at this. Jason, you were just talking about this. Give up on an addict who does not want to change. I didn't even know you were going to talk about that, bro, but it's on the screen. It's on the screen, my guy. It's on the screen. But listen, giving up on an addict. You were trying to be there, but you realized that the more you were there, the more you were possibly enabling the person that you were trying to care for. You learn from it, we get better, but that person has to take responsibility and want to change. And so why do we find it so hard to let go? But too many times with clear evidence staring us in the face, we find it difficult to pull the trigger. And why is that? The reasons are very understandable, especially in light of developmental psychology, our understanding of trauma, and cognitive mapping. Some people's developmental path has not equipped them to stand up and let go of something. For example, if they did not develop what psychologists refer to as secure attachment or emotional object constancy, the separation and loss that ending a relationship triggers for them are too much, so they avoid it. In addition, in their development, they may not have been taught the skills to confront situations like these. Or if they have had traumatic losses in life, another ending represents a replay of those, and they shy away or frantically try to mend whatever is wrong way past reason. I was just talking to a friend the other day, and they simply were allowing all types of treatment in their relationship. And I had to simply say to them, why are you accepting the crumbs? Why are you accepting the crumbs? Yes, you have your own mistakes. Yes, you have your own faults, but you're simply accepting crumbs all because you're trying to save the existing relationships in your life. But trying to save those existing relationships in your life and only accepting crumbs will prevent you from having blessed relationships in your life that will help you to feel fulfilled, will help you to know that you are appreciated. But simply, so for some of us, we have had family dynamics where love was possibly very distorted. Or if I did get love, it was at a minimal capacity. And so I have this relationship, it provides me a little love. And if that's what I'm going to get, then I'll take what I can get. And we don't think that we can experience anything better because this is what our first relationships were. But the truth of the matter is there are people out there that will love us in a more healthy way because they're trying to love themselves in a healthy way. They will hear us. They will allow us and contribute to us feeling seen and heard. But if we're so persistent about keeping onto relationships that truly don't even recognize our value or blocking our blessing from being with people that will love and care for us. As we keep on going, or they have internal maps that tell them that ending something is mean or will cause someone harm. Have you ever felt that way? In any case, fears dominate their functioning and they find themselves unable to do a necessary ending. See if you can relate to any of these fears or inabilities that can cause people to hang on or stay somewhere too long. I want you to take a mental note or write down some of these examples that connect to you. I'm going to read them very slowly, and we'll be able to talk about a little bit which ones connect to where you are in your life or have experienced in the past. So once again, see if you can relate to any of these fears or inabilities that can cause people to hang on or stay somewhere too long. Number one, you can't tell if an ending is actually necessary or if it or he is fixable. That's you, write it down. Number two, you're afraid of the loss and the sadness it will bring. You're afraid of the loss and the sadness it will bring. A lot of times comes with grieving. Number three, is this you? You fear confrontation. You fear confrontation. You have issues with necessary endings because you fear confrontation? If that's you, write it down. Number four, you fear the unknown. You fear the unknown. Number five, you lack the skills to execute the ending. You lack the skills to execute the ending. You don't know how to communicate or even go about a necessary ending. Number six, you lack the right words to use. Are you that person that fears you're going to say the wrong thing at the wrong time and then make things worse than it already is? This may be your fear or inability. Number seven, you fear hurting the person, when in reality, the best thing you can do is communicate in love. But even if you communicate in love, a person will still be hurt because a relationship is ending. So you do the best that you can, but just know, even with that, a person will still be hurt because if they value the relationship and it hurts to be separate from you. But doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It just means that sometimes to move on and get healthy, there's pain involved. Number eight, you've had too many painful endings in your personal history. You've had too many painful endings in your personal history and don't want another one. You've had too many painful endings in your personal history and don't want another one. Hope I'm not coming for somebody here, and I promise you I'm not. But these type of people, because they may have not had a good track record with past relationships, the communication aspect, how it ended, they are trying to avoid at any cost ending a relationship in the present or future because they don't want to repeat the pain of the past. When in reality, they can look back and say, here's what I can do differently and still end a relationship and move forward. And last one is you've blown endings before and don't want to repeat it again. You've blown endings before and don't want to repeat it again. Probably all of us can relate to something on that list, but even so, here's the issue. Endings are necessary. They are an essential part of life. Everything has seasons, and we have to be able to recognize when something's time has passed and to move on to the next season. Everything that is alive requires pruning as well. Gardeners prune as a rose bush for 3 reasons, and then I'll get some feedback from you guys. So gardeners prune a rose bush for 3 reasons. The bush produces more buds than it can sustain, and some good ones have to go so the best can have the resources of the bush. Number 2, there are some branches and buds that are sick and not going to get well. Number 3, there are some that are already dead and are taking up valuable space. Imagine you trying to live your life. You're full of life. You're full of life. You're trying to get your just things going, but yet you have dead things taking up valuable space. It might be a friendship. It might be a family relationship. It might be the how do I say this? The detrimental words that you continue to believe about yourself. It might be the perfectionism. Sometimes our perfectionism is the dead space or the dead thing taking up valuable space in our lives. And so, last slide I'll share with you, let's apply that to life as we spoke about the gardener and the rose bush and pruning. Let me share these 3 things with you. Over time, you gather more activities, relationships, work interests than you can really feed with the best of your time and energy. You have to realize that you cannot go deep with everything and figure out which ones you are going to invest in. That's a really good one. I gotta say, that's a really good one. Number 2, face it. There are people with whom you have tried everything to get them to get it, or work issues where you have also tried everything, and there is no reason to keep throwing good money after bad. Number 3, there are people, places, and things which have been dead to us for a long time. Oh my gosh, let me just say this one more time. There are people, places, and things which have been dead to us for a long time. It is past time to let them go. So we have a dilemma. Life and success require necessary endings, but we are afraid to execute them. And what do we do? I'm gonna stop my screen share for right now, but just want to get any feedback from things that we read in the slide. I know the chat was going off for a little bit. Oh yeah, there we go. Any feedback on some of the things that we shared in the slide, some of the fears, or even the gardener, the rose bush, and the pruning process? Go ahead, Tammy.
Yeah, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Ooh, there goes my phone. So yeah, I would say for me, I don't know, maybe I guess as you get older, people grow apart, things happen, all that jazz. But one thing I've realized is that over time, the friendships that you've had for a long time, they, losing them definitely hurts. And so maybe sometimes you may be afraid to make a move because, you guys have known each other for so long. But also, with all those years of experience, if throughout those years, it's just been painful, not like, I don't know. I don't want to, like, people are valuable. We all have value, each and every one of us, whether we've hurt someone or, been hurt, we each have value and we're all important. But just knowing that, like, if someone is truly like a toxic, making you feel like you're being poisoned, from the inside out, and every attempt is being made to, try to remedy that friendship, or relationship, at some point you have to realize, like, weighing the good with the bad, like, that you're not good for each other, and continuing to hold on to something that is kind of eating you up on the inside it doesn't really do any good. So I mean, I've learned that in not just like relationships but friendships and also family, just trying really hard for years to try to remedy and make these connections, and sometimes, like, that person may not be ready for it, or you may not be ready for it. And to protect your peace and your sanity, you have to create that space. So that's something I prayed about for a long time, because, I never want to break connection with people. To me, I'm extremely sentimental. Everything that I gather has value to me. That's people, that's things. And losing someone is losing connection with someone. It's like a death. And and when it's a death that you see coming, it's even more painful. But actually, I don't know which is more painful. whether you see it coming or you don't see it coming, but either way, it does feel like a death. And the separation is honestly sometimes too painful to bear. But I think that holding on to something that honestly feels like it's killing you on the inside is also very terrible and could possibly be worse. So I don't know. For me, personally, it's been very difficult letting go of certain connections that I thought were more meaningful to me than they were to the other person. And realizing that like over exerting myself or over giving of myself, I need to be more protective of my peace and my time, because I'm important too. You know, they're important, they're special to me, but I am also important and I need to take care of myself. And if they are not showing that they care about me, I need to then take the reins and take care of myself. And if that means, you know, allowing there to be distance until either, you know, there's a resolution or just peace in that decision, that is that. But I'm learning more and more as I get older to not try to force things with people, not try to force relationships, not try to force connections, not try to force relationships to remain, but to hold on and to value those people who make the effort to make those connections, and to you know, check on me and to just be careful with how I spend my time and how I give my emotions to people, because I can get very connected to someone, very hooked on a connection with someone, and I have to protect my heart. So yeah, that's something I'm learning in my years of life on protecting my peace. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tammy, you know, for sharing that. I think it's one day at a time, right? Like you said, it's not easy at all. But recognizing, like you said, you might put full effort or you might value the importance of the relationship, but and it's not a competition like, oh, well, I'm 95%, you know, putting value towards relationship and you're 94%. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about those people that you clearly are valuing their relationship and they're clearly showing that, you know, you're just another person. And I think a number of us might say that we have experienced one or two relationships like that in our lives. And it doesn't feel good, but a person is showing us how they really feel. And so you might not need to be a best friend or somebody that you date and marry if it's a dating relationship, but you can be an acquaintance. If you don't value the relationship, you're not necessarily going to be a best friend to me, but you'll be an acquaintance, and that will allow me to know at least where our relationship stands, and it's more healthier once I redefine what it actually is. Looking at the chat here, make sure see if I missed anything. But thank you, Joab, for putting those in the chat for us. For those that just jumped on, we're talking about necessary endings. We spoke about how necessary endings are very broad. It can be a relationship, a dating relationship, a friendship. It can be the end of a job. The list can go long. We also spoke about the reason behind why we try to keep these relationships, even when they serve us no purpose, and even when they are examples of death. A lot of it's based off of our early relationships. And I gave an example of my friend. They can have better relationships and they can be appreciated more in another relationship. But because they're so used to, in my words, they're so used to accepting crumbs because they were given crumbs in their previous relationship. They're willing to accept crumbs in their future relationship just to receive and gain love. But the fact of the matter is, it leaves them empty and this still leaves them wanting more. Let's see here. Chanel, go ahead.
I had to sit up because you know we're being recorded.
Okay. You are you-
So when you were just talking about that, I was like, you know what? I think that there is sometimes necessary ending in a phase of our relationship with Christ in terms of moving from I know I thought about it, I was like, oh wow, the Spirit just placed it in me. But specifically from like moving from milk into meat.
Mm,
And even what was being said earlier from Vanessa, like having that time in the morning with the Lord, right? And I feel like for me in the past couple of years, the Lord has been really shifting my relationship with Him into, I think, just like a more. Somebody said it before, like I think, yeah, you said it in the intro, like more from have to want to. And I've been teaching Sabbath school, like Sabbath afternoon and Sundays lessons since the pandemic. That's our
mm.
church transferred, to Zoom doing Sabbath school, and I was voluntold to do the first 2 days. And and it was supposed to be every week, but praise the Lord, Lord, I can't do that every week. And the Lord always provided people to help me to do those, teaching. And I think after a while it went from like I have to do this, and it was never like, oh man, Lord, I got to do this. But it transferred from like, Lord, like I get the privilege of going before your people, even with Bible study, preparing the day before, preparing the hour before, the Lord just is like, the Spirit, like, no, not anymore. And so I think it was last year just starting to read the commentaries and be more intentional to prepare for studies instead of just kind of like go going through with it. Or just like going in, like the thing about God and the way that He's always worked with me is like He's always given me something through His Spirit to bring before His people, even if it is last minute. But I just felt like the Holy Spirit was like, I want to give more to the Lord. So yeah, I feel like there's times, well, there has to be a time for every single one of us where our relationship with God has a necessary ending of infancy, and it moves to intermediary. That He moves us into high school and collegiate and doctoral and beyond. Um, and I feel like that's where the Lord has shifted me into another space where, like, a part of my life, I value service to the church. I value serving God's people. I value being able to, I don't even necessarily think of it as like volunteering, but being able to serve in ministry in the church in different ways. And then I'm also thinking about, like, how can I include that more, in my life? I think somebody was who was mentioning like a service that they do with the socks. I don't fully remember now, but it's something that just made me think, wow, I really want for more of my life to be like, oh, man, somebody said something very specific, I forgot. But in any case, it's using the desires that God has for me, like I'm really passionate about organizing people's spaces and cleaning up and doing the befores and afters and turning that into more of a ministry based opportunity for people in church or something. So I love that idea. Instead of like, Thursday just hanging out at home, recovering from the workday, maybe grabbing a group of 10 people from the church and you go descend on somebody's house and just organize it for them. And it's just all for bringing glory to God and making that person's home like a little slice of heaven. So yeah, I think that for me, the Lord has been calling me from, um milk to meat in terms of not the word, but in terms of like how I interact with Him.
I really love that, Janelle. And by the way, I see the VTM shirt. I see the BTM shirt. Yep, you better represent. You better represent. Go ahead. Go ahead. Love that. Love the logo. You better, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. There we go. There we go. I love that visual that you gave. The fact that different aspects of our relationship with God have to come to an end, right? In terms of the stages and everything like that. And so going from what you call that milk to meat. And I do believe as we're growing, sometimes we had a prior belief about Christ. And then even in our growth with him, we've been shown that, wait a second, this is bigger than I thought. Or I may have misunderstood who he really was, who he really is in our individual lives and also collectively. I even believe that there are some believers that they may have been in the church for a very long time, but they still have a caricature understanding of Christ in terms of when it comes to like judgment and grace. Like sometimes you have the people that are all grace and the people that are all judgment, and believers have a hard time finding this middle ground. Hold on one second. So believers have this hard time finding a middle ground between the two. Sometimes you have extremists on both ends. But even understanding like, this is what I initially believed about Christ, but now with my experience with him growing, being community, understand what he's done for my own self, now I can come to a healthy belief of who he really is. Not based on what somebody else told me, but based off of how he shows up, what the Bible says, and the reality of that in my own life. Clifton, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to like thank Chanel for saying what she said, because I think Chanel does a great job at pushing towards, because when she said necessary endings, like with Christ, and to me that like that obviously it to me it made me think of like my relationship with myself and my relationship with Christ, and like understanding the journey. And I know we talk about surrendering sometimes, so I'm not going to use that word because I feel like sometimes it can sound like general, like just throwing something, or like just, I don't know, it just doesn't, surrendering doesn't always sound like an easy thing to do. But when you're ending a relationship, it's like, Christ can be working in your ways. Maybe some of you may be able to relate, but it's like some weeks you feel like things are going well, and then the next week it's like things are not going so well. Or sometimes you kind of know exactly what you need to do, and sometimes you don't know exactly what you need to do, but you're still trying to rush and move because you're kind of like in an anxious place or an anxious state. So as of lately, I've just been like, yo, just chill, relax. Like not necessarily to relax, but like focusing on aspects. Like BFit Ministry has also like done a lot in the sense of like prioritizing, time, prioritizing sleep, prioritizing, what you eat. Like just kind of like leaving room in your and my brain to allow myself to grow fully as a person. And when Chanel mentioned, ending the relationship, with Christ, I think that, it's one thing if you're asking Christ for me, if it was one thing if I'm asking Christ for help, and it's like I'm just waiting, looking at him, waiting for him to move, just waiting for him, rather than saying, hey, Lord, can you get this for me? I'm gonna come back to you later. And I just, continue about my day and not worry about it. But, the way that I felt like this always been is just like, I'm just waiting there like a puppy, just waiting for him to say, I got you. You know what I mean? So I like that idea. And I kind of feel that energy shift happening for me. But when Chanel said that, I was just like, yeah, I want more of that. I want to end how I used to experience Christ, how I used to kind of like feel anxiety, and enter a new relationship with Christ where I know just like his plan is happening. So just chill, do what you need to do. Not chill necessarily, but do what you need to do what you see is necessary for your life in this moment, and put less emphasis on too much of the future. I mean, it's good to plan the future, but I'm just saying, for me, it's just like I can't worry about that stuff now. It's not even happening tomorrow, it's not happening the next day, but I'm sitting here thinking about do the math on how things could play out in my benefit. It's like, it's too much stress.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Clifton. And Clifton, we're talking about necessary endings tonight, and something that made me think about another aspect of this conversation based on what you and Chanel had spoke about. I think we have imposter syndrome with a number of things. It could be like our careers. We could be very qualified, but there are things that we might not know that we're still learning. We have the imposter syndrome. But in the same way that we have an imposter syndrome in other areas of our lives, I think sometimes we have this imposter syndrome when it comes to being a Christian. I think that we definitely have this imposter syndrome when it comes to being a Christian. That if we're not on our game throughout the week, if we miss a Bible study, or we're not perfect, or we're not this, there's this imposter syndrome that comes with, being a Christian, and everybody feels like they're all alone and I can't say anything, and there's shame if I say something. But at the end of the day, all of us at some point probably feel that way. Maybe during this week, several of us will have that experience, and we won't say anything because fear of judgment. Not trying to make me cringe. And so I just want to just say, that's what I'm hearing along with this conversation. Understand that a lot of us have this imposter syndrome when it comes to being a Christian, and you're not alone. Okay, whether you're the pastor, whether you're the member, whether you're just a regular Christian, whether you're starting out, whether you're years down the line, we all have a tendency of having imposter syndrome, and we get so hard on ourselves and try to say, well, let me clean myself up. It's like when you are out in the week, people say you're out in the world and you want to clean yourself up to come before God. It's the same thing when it comes to like studying the Bible, those daily devotions of prayer and stuff like that. We're trying to make sure we can do it 3 straight weeks in a row to feel worthy enough to come to God. That's not how God operates. If it's simply today that you are making, you're making a change, you were successful of saying, hey, I'm going to do this today, whether it's Bible study, scripture, whatever it is, then God honors that day. God honors that day. But some of us, we're trying to do it 8 straight months and try to be perfect. And then you end up failing, and then you go into this cycle again. And then you bring shame onto yourself even more, making it harder to come to God. And that's the last thing he wants for you. So I just wanted to point that out. Chanel says, when it comes to God, we are more secure than we think. God is so loving. And look how Solomon lived. I love that. Love that, Chanel. Anybody else before we come to the last closing slides for tonight? We're actually going to do an afterglow because tomorrow we're not meeting, but we're going to do a short afterglow and check in on how everybody's doing. I got a couple announcements too. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Happy Friday. Hope you all had an awesome week. I just wanted to touch on the family aspect of like letting relationships go. So that one it hit me like harder than all the other ones because you believe that because they're your family, you need to keep and tolerate and, put yourself last when it comes to confrontations. And something I've slowly learned is, like Tammy said, peace of mind is everything. And that didn't happen till in my 30s. I started prioritizing my peace. So if we can start prioritizing our peace from in the 20s, maybe you guys will have an even awesomer 30s. Because once you start, allowing yourself to be like, that's not okay. That wasn't cool. Like, and I'm not going to accept this because you're my aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, cousin, mom, dad, sister, brother. Like, nobody is excused. Like, You definitely draw those boundary lines. Don't be afraid to say, this is my boundary, and you've crossed it. Like, I'm sorry, I love being Caribbean and I love being Adventist and I love being Black, but taking it back to the Caribbean, they silence their children to the point that they don't realize that we are one day going to be adults. Allow us to say no. That's not okay. I don't like that. That's not funny. Like, that's not cute. I digress. So the whole point of me getting on here was to co-sign what Tammy said and what you were saying, that there are relationships where we just have to end. Like, I love you, but from a distance, in my Medea voice, okay? Like, far away. Like, I love you. I want all the good for you. I don't hate you, but for my sake, for my peace of mind, and it's not being selfish. It's not. And for so long, it was rude or bright or ultimata or whatever else you hear growing up.
Mhm.
And it's just like, but it isn't. I'm just letting you know
Mhm.
where you need to stop. Like, you let me know where I gotta stop as a child, but I also have a stop sign. So yeah. Awesome topic. Awesome topic.
Thank you so much, Colleen. And then I really love that answer that you gave as well, because I think it becomes a cycle, right? It's like the children are not seen, and then they get to 30, 40s, and they're still like not seen even as adults. It's almost like, all right, now that I'm the matriarch, or I'm the grandfather now, and I'm this more seasoned one, I'm gonna do to my kids what I never got to do as a child. I'm going to be the one that's seen, and I'm not going to make any space for anybody to be seen or heard except for me. And so I was thinking about this when you started speaking. Oh, go ahead. I heard somebody. I think that was just okay.
I'll just co-sign it. I agree with everything you're saying. That vicious cycle, nasty work. It got release.
You are killing me. You are killing me, bro. Thank you. And so I wrote something down here. It just came to my mind while Colleen was speaking. It says that people allow their peace to go to the grave or get buried alive. People allow their peace to go to the grave or get buried alive in order to make someone else happy. I'll read that one more time. People allow their peace to go to the grave or get buried alive in order to make someone else happy. And so the underlying message is, I'm not worthy enough to be seen, loved, or heard. Okay, so I just wrote that down just one more time. People allow their peace to go to the grave or get buried alive in order to make someone else happy. The underlying message is that I'm not worthy enough to be seen, loved, or heard. Okay, so just wanted to just drop that in there. And I don't think that's fair to anybody here. And if you have lived a life up until this point like that, it does not mean that you have to continue to live that life. Because once you get a taste of seeing that you can be seen, you can be loved, your voice does matter, why would you ever want to go back? Why would you ever want to go back? And why would you even pack your bags to even go back to a place like that once you've experienced better? So I just want to give that to somebody that may need that today. That I know you're probably saying, well, some of us might say, hey, I've been living my life this way, and well, it's all over. What's the use of making a change? The difference to make the change it means joy. It means change. It means being seen. It means so much. It means that you not only allow others to continue to start to respect you and value you, but you actually respect and value yourself. Because a part of it is us. If we allow our
Come
peace.
on now, Pastor Devontae.
I'm
Yes.
done.
Yes. oh my gosh, that say that again. It's about you. Like when you realize that you, oh my God. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was really thinking about this because in the book Boundaries, it talks about it talks well, it gives a scripture, but it also talks about the fact that when we allow people just to disrespect us or run over us, it doesn't allow them to love us any better or respect us even more. It doesn't allow them to love us any better or respect us even more. If anything, you're teaching people to disrespect you and love you through distortion. And so part of it is us. Part of it is definitely us. So I just wanted to share that with you all today. And this thing is serious. You have to take responsibility. If nobody else, if it's only Christ in you that's going to value you, make sure you don't fail in doing that. All right. So with that, we're going to just share some last couple slides. And then, no, you're good. You're good. The way you spell my name in the chat, it reminds me, Colleen, of the way the lady that used to bring me to church, her name is Sister Oates. She said, Devente, all the time. I was just like, there's an O in my name, but it's fine. It's fine. You're good. It was just like, wow, I can really do the name change. I see the change, I can feel it, but yeah, you're good. So let's close out on this note. Let's close out on this note as I share some slides with you and then share some announcements as well. And so as we begin to just close out, I just want to share with you a few thoughts. It says here that consider how you look at endings in general. When we think about necessary endings, consider how you look at endings in general. Do you perceive them as natural? Do you have a worldview that everything has its season and life cycle? And do you think that if something comes to an end, it means that something must be wrong? That means you have to change your perception. When you see that you need to let go of something or someone, what happens inside of you? What fears emerge? Are they paralyzing? How can you address them? Have you really thought about the fact that if you don't do the pruning in the area where it's needed, you won't get what you ultimately want? For example, if you keep that employee, then that department will never perform well. Or if you stay in that relationship, you will not find the one that really fulfills you. Play the movie of your life forward a year or two and see if you like the results of not making the decision. If you are holding on to hope, what is the basis for that? Is it rationale and objective, or just a defense against facing the problem? Endings are a part of life. We are actually wired to execute them. But because of trauma, developmental failures, and other reasons, we shy away from the steps that could open up whole new worlds of development and growth. Take an inventory of the areas of your life that may need some pruning and begin to take the steps you need to face the fears that are getting in your own way. If you have been friends with someone for a long time, you may feel obligated to continue to maintain the friendship, despite the growing discomfort or knowledge that you no longer feel aligned with this friend. What can make ending a friendship even more complicated is that there's no protocol for ending a friendship. Unlike romantic relationships, a friendship breakup is something you never think will happen to you until it does. If you're uncertain about ending a friendship, consider whether you have noticed any of these. And here are just some more tips. You won't see it on the screen, but I'll just share them with you even now. And so first one that we have here, signs a relationship may need to end. Your core values differ. It's noticeable enough that you have grown apart and don't feel that you have much in common anymore. It's natural that over time, your life may move in a different direction than your friend's life. Doesn't mean you stop loving them. Doesn't mean you don't think they're a good person, but you guys have different mindsets now, or you're in different fields now, or you think about different things. It may be time for it to end. You're the only one making an effort to maintain the friendship. Have you ever been in that place, similar to what we've been speaking about, where you put forth all the effort in visiting and calling and reaching out, and the person doesn't even try? It may be time to end the relationship. You typically feel drained after spending time with them. If you notice that you frequently feel drained after spending time with your friend, this is a sign to take some time to reflect on what specifically is causing you to feel drained when you're around them. When you ask yourself why you're maintaining this friendship, you can't come up with a reason why. I'll say that again. When you ask yourself why this friendship still exists, and you can't come up with a reason why, if you're reflecting on the role of a friendship as in your life, and you're having difficulty coming up with the reason why you're maintaining it, this usually is a sign that you're feeling disconnected from this friend and obligated to spend time with them. Number 5, they don't respect your boundaries. Pay attention to what happens when you express a boundary or preference with a friend. Do they try to convince you otherwise or disregard your boundary? Some examples of boundary pushing that can occur in friendships are your friend expecting to be invited everywhere you go. Oh man, that's so annoying. Now that I think about that. How about this one? Your friend becoming jealous of you spending time with other friends. Or your friend trying to convince you to drink or stay out later when you've already expressed that you don't want to. Number 6, you have started hiding things from them due to fear of judgment. You start hiding things from your friend due to fear that they will judge you harshly. This is often a sign that the dynamic in your friendship has shifted and you no longer feel emotionally safe. Friends that care for you may give you tough love and express concern about some of the decisions you make. There's a difference between expressing concern and being judgmental or shaming towards someone. If you're frequently feeling judged by your friend and nothing has changed, despite expressing how you feel to them, it may be time to consider whether this friendship is sustainable. We'll stop right there for tonight. But as you continue on, understand that some of you have walked in your greatest blessings, all because you were willing to let a relationship or something come to an end. I'll say that again. Some of you, even currently, were able to walk into your greatest blessings for this season, all because you were willing to let someone, some relationship, something come to an end. Didn't mean it was easy. Didn't mean you didn't go through the hurt in the process. But look at you now. Look at you now and how you've grown, how you look, what you've experienced, and God kept you, all because you were willing to let something, someone, some relationship come to an end. So with that, we're going to close out. There's a couple announcements for you all, and just want to share this flyer with you. Well, first up, as you know, tomorrow we won't have service because we had service tonight on necessary endings. One of my favorite topics, something that we were actually supposed to do maybe a year ago, but I forgot to do it. But I was happy to do it now. Everything happens for a reason, you know? Also, just want to tell you that this Sunday at 1 p.m., we're actually going to be starting our open support group sessions, And you should be seeing my flyer. So give me a thumbs up if you can see it. But our open support group sessions, and we want to thank our very own Darian Santana for, giving us this wonderful idea, and then also being able to ask some of our own BTM members to help out. But open support group sessions, Sunday at 1 p.m., same Zoom ID. And this is just to provide extra support. We know that from time to time, we tackle some tough topics. and being able to process those topics and getting through your week. And even thinking about, hey, you might have a tough week or things that you're going through. We're going to be spending some time Sunday at 1 p.m. And every month, we're going to try to do this twice a month to provide this extra support to our members. So if you can make it this Sunday, 1 p.m., we would love to have you. We have some, and we're going to be tag teaming. And so every week, or every time we meet, I should say, we'll have two of our emotional health facilitators leading the sessions. And so, yeah, feel free to come on and get that support, and we will be happy to have you as well. Just want to thank Darian, Patrice, Cherie, Arshley, and for definitely helping out. And, you know, this ministry, you guys definitely come together, support one another, and y'all just self-initiators. I love it. I love it. So just want to throw that out there. Also, book club this Monday coming up. We're going to be doing Immortality Spirituality, and I'll be hosting that. Also, just want to say, if you want to give towards BTM, a number of you have started giving tithe and offering to BTM. And I also just want to say, great job. We're seeing an increase in people giving. And so in the next 2 weeks, we're going to do a meeting speaking about the retreat, possibilities about the retreat, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, we're going to speak about possibilities regarding the retreat. And so in addition to that, we're going to be showing finances for BTM, and just want to show you how you've grown from year one to, not even year one, I should say year two, from year 2 to year 4, and seeing how we even, you know, can grow even more. So look out for that in the next 2 weeks. And also, if you want to give to BTM, you can use that $ Breaking the Mold Min on Cash App. And we'll just know that your monies are all helping to support our ministry, whether it's retreat and a list of things that we do at BTM. So we thank you so much. These are all your announcements for tonight. And we're about to hop into Afterglow right now. And thank you all for coming on tonight.